walloped it.
The 20, the 10, the 5, the 30. Rosalie Jack Sales was caught at the 30.
Julio Humphrey
deliver body blow after body blow after body blow. The team just wants to absolutely beat you up.
There are threats all over the field for these Georgia Bulldogs.
You're listening to Between the Hedges with your host, Russ.
Good morning, all you Between the Hedges fans. It's Thursday, and boy, do we have a great show in store for you all today. Today we're going to talk about Mike Bobo is loved and Georgia eager to make a statement. All this and more on Between the Hedges podcast. Don't go away.
The DAWGS.
Between the Hedges is sponsored by
Dogs and More isn't your normal hot dog stand. Dogs and More serves gourmet hot dogs, hamburger, and grilled cheese sandwiches. Also, their floats are no joke either. They're located in Rincon, Georgia. Go to our website and under sponsors click Dogs and More. Believe me, their dogs are off the leash.
Welcome, all you wonderful listeners. It's Friday Eve. Man, we have 2 days to go until Georgia goes looking for some volunteers. Want to say thank you to all you loyal listeners and to any new listeners that we may have. I want to say hello and thank you for listening to Between the Hedges podcast. While you're here, go ahead and click that follow button if you haven't already done so you can be kept up to date on all of our episodes. And then also, turn on the notifications. That way you'll be able to get notified when these episodes are released. We also want you to understand that we are here for you. So if you would like to reach out to us to discuss topics, to leave comments, whatever it is, there are a few options available for you. One option is to click the See More on the podcast description, and then you will see our email address listed in there, bthfpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a website link on there. You can click on the website. You can go on there and see all of the available podcast channels that we currently have, and at the bottom of the website, you'll be able to see send message, and you can send us a message that way. And also check out our sponsors while you're there as well, too. Don't forget, you can also call us at 706-389-0770. If you want your message to be played over the podcast, then all we ask you to do is just keep it professional. Remember, we are a family-friendly podcast. We are a podcast that's for the fans, by the fans. So we want to hear from you guys. Don't forget, we also are on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube if you want to check us out there as well. So today's podcast is going to be great, and I cannot wait to get it started. So let's get this thing rolling.
Between the Hedges is sponsored by
CB Tumblers. You ever wish you could have a custom tumbler? Well, now you can. CB Tumblers can make you any custom tumbler from a bulldog design or a tie-dye, whichever you like. Whatever you can think of, they can make it. Go to our website under sponsors section and click CB Tumbler and get your custom tumbler ordered today.
Boy, do we have a great topic for you guys today. One that I honestly never thought I would be having a conversation with you guys about. The Georgia football program is raving about Mike Bobo and saying that they just love having him around. Well, I am finally going to give you guys a little bit of a history about me and Mike Bobo. So, Mike Bobo has been around the Georgia football program for a very, very long time. As you guys are all probably aware, if you are true diehard Georgia Bulldog fans, you remember the Bobo Rick era. And yes, folks, I was very upset and very angry with Bobo because he would the plays that he would call. And we knew it was him because they would point the camera up there in the box and they'd be Bobo. And they'd be all on him and everything else and say, Bobo is doing this, Bobo is doing that. And it was a bad, bad time for Bobo to be an offensive coordinator. But I will say this. For as much hand-wringing as there was this offseason about replacing former offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Mike Bobo has proven plenty capable of guiding Georgia's offense. And yes, I said that. He seems to be capable of doing a good job. The Bulldogs right now are averaging 40.6 points per game and 504.8 yards per game so far this season. That ranks them 6th and 5th, respectively, in the country in those metrics, according to an article that Connor Riley wrote off of Dog Nation. Now, Bobo was recognized as a semifinalist for the Broyles Award, given annually to the nation's top assistant coach. Monken was a finalist for the award last season before he was ultimately hired to be the offensive coordinator to the Baltimore Ravens. So Monken went pro and Bobo came back. The important thing, though, that I'd like to point out is that the recognition of the award to Bobo, though, is the respect of his players and fellow coaches. So ultimately, Bobo is a good guy. I don't want people to think that I hate Bobo as a person. I don't hate Bobo as a person. I just didn't think he was that great of an offensive coordinator. But we all make mistakes. Maybe it wasn't so much Bobo wasn't such a good offensive coordinator, and maybe we just didn't have good players. Maybe we didn't have a good head coach standing by Bobo at that time to make those calls. I'm not saying it was all Rick's fault. We always point fingers at the coach and say, it's your fault we lost the game. It's your fault that we didn't win. What were you thinking, But Bobo, he's been doing pretty good. They asked Tate Ratledge, the offensive guard, what he thought about Bobo, and he says when he first got taken over, he did a lot to help us, keeping a lot of the lingo around, same words for stuff. His process through 10 games, I don't think he's cold off since. He's gotten hotter and hotter, and I just love having him around. So the players have received Bobo really well, coming back in, especially after some of these players worked with Mike. Oh my goodness, my mind just went blank. I'm so sorry, guys. Monken. Since these players have worked with Monken for so long, they're probably used to working with Monken. Here you see Monken leaving. You've worked with Monken for a few years, and then now you got this guy coming in. And you're like, I've heard of Bobo from the past, but who are you and how good are you, So the fact that, Bobo is actually doing good with the team, I think that's a good respective approach that a good offensive coordinator can do coming in. Here you are, fresh off the block. You've been here before. You didn't have that great of a reception then, or you didn't have that great of a record then, but now you're coming back and you're getting these kinds of numbers. Bobo was around the team last season as an analyst now. He would help with the play designs and occasionally pop in on meetings with the Georgia tight end room. So he had some pull, but not as much. Monken ultimately was the one calling shots. But Monken did express his gratitude for how Bobo helped, along with the rest of the Georgia staff. They really did appreciate Bobo coming back and doing what he did. So the case is still that this season, Bobo has earned public praise. He's earning the praise from this podcaster. He also knows the entire Georgia offensive staff has played a role in how well the Bulldogs have played on offense. Coach Kirby Smart even commented he relies heavily on his staff. He'd be the first to tell you he's got an incredible staff. You've got Dell, Hartley, BMAC, Cyrils. They're all incredible, and the analysts are incredible. Now, Georgia coach Kirby Smart also said, when you put an incredible staff together, you get good decision-making, innovative, a lot of ideas. They present each week to him so that he has good material to pick from. Georgia has also recently gotten back to full strength on the offensive side of the ball. Ladd McConkey, who missed the first 4 games of the season, and then tight end Brock Bowers is now back. You've also got offensive tackle Amarius Mims, who's returned back. So here you got these great players that are really talented, and you have this great team that's very creative, that can come up with some good ideas, some good plays, and maybe even have a little bit of fun. As Georgia's getting closer to the stretch of the end of the season, Bobo at least seems to have a full cupboard or a full thought process or ingredients in the cook book, as you would call it, the little playbook. And I think he's going to have some great plays for us this weekend. I think we're going to see some dynamite plays from Bobo. I think he's going to play around with Brock, play around with McConkey a little bit, Mims. He's got some dynamite players on his team that'll be able to play. We haven't heard if Demarius is going to be back yet or not, so we're going to keep you posted on that one as well, too. We will also have the spread tomorrow, which, again, we'll talk a little bit about that spread. It said 8.5, but I'm still staggered that it's 8.5. But we'll talk more about that one on tomorrow, of course, like we always do every Friday. But I want to mention this really quick. Smart did mention this, too. His ability to adapt to the personnel we have. He's had a very rotating lineup. He's had this guy in, that guy out, this guy in, that guy. He did have 2 tight ends. He didn't have 2 tight ends. Pierce has been injured twice. Lawson's been hurt. Brock's been hurt. He's had back ends and out, in and out, wide outs, in and out, in and out. So the ability to teach concepts and have plug-and-play players stands out. His development of the quarterback, his leadership, and messaging to the offense is critical because I'm not over there all the time, so he has to be the leader and voice of reasons. So you see right there how Georgia coach Kirby Smart's saying, Bobo is a very talented coach. He has great ideas. I just think that he has to have talented players to be able to form those ideas, which is probably one of the reasons why we never did so well in the past with Bobo. And a lot of the times we as fans jump straight to the coach and say, oh, you coaches stink. Oh, you coaches stink. But we really and truly never look at the whole element. I was a young fan then. I was in my 20s, and I honestly just thought, man, Bobo, you don't know what you're doing. But looking back now and thinking about the players and thinking about those days of old with Rick and Bobo and the Cox days and stuff, I'm thinking about maybe the fact that we kind of may have been a little hard on Bobo. And I know I'm eating crow right now because I never thought I'd say that. I was dead set on being a hate Bobo fan for a long time because of all the plays that he would do. And even to this day, I still joke with some of my friends, and I'm like, I can't stand that Bobo. And then they'll do a great play. I'm like, I love Bobo. Get on the Bobo train, And I'm sure I'm not the only fan that's done that. I mean, come on. You guys out there, I know you're listening to the podcast, and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, he is just like me. He's doing the same thing. And I know you're doing it. It's okay. I won't judge you because I did the same thing, too. But if the Bulldogs are going to come away with another big win this Saturday, Georgia is going to need Bobo. And the offensive players need to deliver once again. Given the recent run of form, there's real confidence that I think will continue with the players. Bowers did say that he's done a great job through the whole transition, referring to Bobo. I think we started to finally build an identity after a couple of games, Bowers said. Bowers also commented a little further and said it took us a little bit to get rolling and get some of the kinks worked out, but I feel like we found an identity as an offense and have been rolling. So if you guys have been following along with Bobo this season and you guys have been seeing what they're doing, I think you all will agree that he is doing something on the offensive line and the offensive players for the Georgia Bulldog football team. And I honestly cannot wait to see what happens next. I have not heard any word if Bobo is planning on staying with us for next season. I really hope that he does, only because I feel like his talents that we are seeing this season, along with Coach Kirby Smart's staff and what Kirby Smart's doing, I think is a potentially game-changing, game-winning, game-playing type atmosphere for future games. We might even, like I said, if we get a three-peat this year and we do have a third national championship belt under our wing, a lot of the times you have other college football teams that will try to come and not only take players, but try to take our coaches. And we have to run the risk of that Bobo may be popular and Bobo may get offered a job like what Monken was, at the Ravens. So I think we need to really keep in mind that we need to take a moment to reflect on our coaches and our staff and think about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and think to ourselves and say, you know what, they really do have a challenge to try to come in and be the best and to have these plays, run them strategically, run the reps, run the loops, run the play clock, run the reviews, and all the stuff they do. There's a lot of hours that goes into it. A lot of people don't realize how much work it goes into in being a coach for a college football team. But again, this is just my thoughts on what I've seen and what I'm looking at for Bobo and players and stuff. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If you guys feel like Bobo is really good, do you think maybe Bobo's always been good and it was just the players? Or do you think maybe Bobo is seasoned through the years as a coach and he's learned from his mistakes? Or do you still see some plays out there that he's done and you're thinking, my goodness, this is the same Bobo has always been. He's never changed at all. I want to hear from you fans. Remember, you guys can email us, bthfpodcast@gmail.com. You can go on our website and you can actually email us from there as well if you want to, or you can send us a message, and you can always call us 706-389-0770 and leave a message. We'll be back after our next sponsor, and we'll start our second segment for the podcast.
Between the Hedges is sponsored by
Sarah the Wax Boss for Scentsy. You have a hair lady, nail lady, and maybe a massage lady. But do you have a wax lady? They are more than just warmers and wax cubes. Their products range from inside the home to inside your car, as well as your pets. Go to our website and under the sponsors, click Sarah the Wax Boss for Scentsy and get your Scentsy ordered today.
Welcome back, everybody. Georgia football is eager to make a statement against Tennessee. One of the comments was made, it's you against the world. Wonder who said that. So Saturday's game is supposed to be a battle for the SEC Championship East. However, since Tennessee lost to Mizzou last weekend, Georgia clinched that. However, Genesee. I think I just shipped Georgia and Tennessee. Genesee. Boy, that's not enough coffee this morning. Georgia and Tennessee were picked to finish first and second in the division this year. I will have it made mention to, by the way, when the schedule was drawn up. The dream scenario for some would have had these two teams playing their best football heading into this pivotal November matchup. And I know that Tennessee has unfortunately had some pretty bad luck when it's come to their players. They have not had so much good luck with their players this year. However, though, Georgia has held its end of the bargain and has the Bulldogs once again have the number one spot in the college football playoff rankings. Hallelujah. Tennessee, meanwhile, is coming off a 36-7 loss to Missouri. It was the third loss of the season for the Volunteers, a step back from where the program was a season ago, guys. This is the same team that we watched last year, and I remember the game so well. I mean, it was a close game. It really was. We had to really work hard at playing against Tennessee. We had to really focus on playing, the team that it was. But overall, we are going up there to their stadium this weekend. So, we really got to be careful with our choices and plays and our snaps and our offensive line. Remember, when these two met in 2022, it was the Volunteers who had the number one ranking in the sport, but Tennessee did come to Athens that time and that day, and they had dreamed that they were going to move forward and they were going to beat us and finally take our undefeated championship belt back. But it was ruined because the Volunteers were punked 27-13. It was still a close game, but we had to work very hard. If you look at 27-13, even though there's about a 2-touchdown basis, which is a huge deficit, it was not an easy game that we just got right away. We had to work hard for that. The final score did not reflect how dominant Georgia was. I will say it like that. We had to really, really work hard at getting that dominating ability done. But the Volunteers now will have a chance to return the favor because we are going up there. And it could say a lot about where these two programs are headed when it comes to this game this weekend. Of course, we could also see a repeat of last season. So it's hard to say. I feel like, to me, based on what I'm seeing with Tennessee right now and how they played against Mizzou and how we played against them, there was a lot of things I saw in that game where we would have probably done differently. And I think we would have handled it a different approach. But then again, Tennessee also had some players that were injured and some rookie players that hadn't played much. So it's a big game every year we play Tennessee, Coach Kirby Smart said. They're a good program. We're a good program, and the two are going to match up. As far as our focus on it, our players respect the hell out of the Tennessee. They know how hard it is to play them. We had to play them up there 2 years ago, and it's tough. It's a tough prep, and we'll be focused. Even with the SEC schedule changing and Georgia-Tennessee not expected to be a protected rivalry game moving forward, the two sides will meet again in 2024 based on Georgia's home SEC foes. Georgia will also welcome Auburn and Mississippi State to Athens. The Tennessee game is likely to be the biggest home game for the Georgia next year. So what they're referring to about not being a rivalry is, remember, they're changing the divisions now moving forward. So Georgia will keep some rivalry games. Your other SEC teams will keep some rivalry games. We're going to keep the Florida game, obviously, things like that. But they're going to be switching it up. We're no longer going to be East and West. It's going to be all of us on one, I guess you could say, one piece of paper, one sheet, one list, however you want to word it. And at the end of the season, whoever the top two teams are, those two are going to go for the SEC championship game. I don't know if they're going to call it the SEC championship game. Maybe they'll still keep the name. Who knows what. But that's how it's going to work. So it's no longer going to be East and West. So that being said, there's going to probably be some changes to the schedules moving forward. Like he mentioned on the article here, and Connor Riley off of Dog Nation did, about how we may not play Tennessee next year. Or the year after next. So there's going to be some schedule changes. Things are going to shift. Things are going to change, which I'm kind of sad because my pastor and I, we've had this chili cook-off every year, where we do the Tennessee versus the Georgia. It's been kind of a thing we do, and it's been kind of lots of fun. And also, if we don't play Tennessee every year now, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to try to figure out some other way of having a chili cook-off and getting together and watching a good game and having a good time and a good atmosphere of friends and fellowship. But overall, it's still going to be a good game this weekend. I'm looking forward to having my friends over. I'm looking forward to having some chili and having a good time watching some football and just having a good time to fellowship. That's what football's all about, guys. It's to get with your friends and your family, to have a good time, to have some fun, and to remember that these players are here to provide us entertainment, but with an occasional bragging rights or two here or there. So now Georgia has had to do the exact same thing. However, and the results haven't been as dramatic. After averaging 41.1 points per game last season, the Bulldogs enter Saturday's game averaging 40.6 points per game. That's actually not that much of a difference in margin if you think about it. In the last 4 games against the SEC teams, Georgia has just 2 punts in the second half of its game. Just 2. That's 1 per quarter. The Bulldogs had a season-best output in both yards and points in a win over Ole Miss. It will look to build off of that momentum this coming Saturday, and I think that's exactly what it's going to be. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers even had something to say about it, too. He said, "I'm excited to go on the road to Neyland. It's going to be a fun environment to play in. I'm just excited." Now, the other big difference between this year's contest and last year's contest is the location. That's the only thing different. All 3 of Tennessee's losses this season have come away from Neyland Stadium, so they've lost on home away games. So this will be a home game for them. Now, they believe they are undefeated for their home game, like 14 in a row. It's nowhere near the record that we have here as Georgia, but still, they're like 14 games undefeated there. So Georgia has only had to play them once in an environment similar to what we'll see on Saturday, and that was when Georgia came away with the 27 win over Auburn. It's the one time all season Georgia has played a one-possession game. So a lot of people are thinking, are we going to see a Georgia-Auburn thing this weekend since we're going home to the Tennessee game? Are we going to be able to gain momentum? But I say this, Georgia fans, let's paint that Neyland Stadium red. Not physically painted. I'm not saying go out and vandalize. I'm saying let's support the team. Let's get as many red coats in there. Let's get some red T-shirts in there. Let's paint that stadium red with fans, and let's support the Bulldogs. We have seen how the atmosphere can affect the games, guys. We see how much Kirby Smart is relying on the atmosphere to affect the games. Now, I'm not saying we'll be able to throw the Tennessee offensive line snaps off, by cheering louder. But I will say this, I do think that we can show our boys enough support to get behind them and to bring a little bit of college pride. Despite the direction of these two teams, again, the Bulldogs aren't overlooking the fact that this will be a tough road environment. Smart will never apologize for winning ugly on the road. He's even said that. Even if Georgia has won its 3 games in Knoxville by 41, 29, and 24 points under Smart. Both of them are highly high numbers. Now, Tate Rutledge did say this. I think some things as a competitor is what you look forward to, going into an amazing environment that almost every SEC team has. Going in there and it's you against the world, basically, when you go into a place like that. I think that feeling as a competitor is amazing. So these players are excited. They are super excited. They're ready to go at these Volunteers. They're ready to see what they can do. With every college football having such a small sample size, each game takes an outsized importance. Rivalry games like Saturday become referendums on seasons. A win for the Volunteers can undo a lot of damage done by those 3 previous losses, which was by Caller Riley on this page. So I feel like, to me, that Georgia's really going to have to push it hard. They're going to have to play hard. They're going to have to play smart. They're going to play smart physically, not smart to coach. But they're going to have to really watch their offensive line of scrimmage, watch the defensive line, the line of scrimmage there as well, too. So I think we've got a good win. I know the spread said 8.5. I saw another one that says 10. But we're going to talk more about the spread tomorrow and exactly what the chances that Bulldogs have of walking away with the win. I just still have this strange feeling it's going to be another Ole Miss game. We're going to dominate it. We're going to blow them out the water. I feel like, to me, they're going to try to hit us really hard on the blitzing for Beck. But I don't see their defense doing that good of a job with Beck, to be honest. And then, of course, obviously, we got our defensive line, which last week, that was like the 2022 defensive team, if you guys can agree with me on that. The defense looked like they did the last 2 seasons that went to the national championships. So I was super proud of that as well, too. But, again, this is just my opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys think. For Georgia, a win can further illustrate the gap between merely a good team and a great one, guys, and I think we got a great team. The Bulldogs have been that this season, and a road win over Tennessee only further cements that. If we can get this win, we'll be good to go. And you want to check out the article here that I was reading to base off of this segment about. Connor Riley wrote it on DAWGNations.com. I feel like, to me, that Georgia Bulldogs are going to make a statement against Tennessee, and we're going to show them you guys are not going to take our undefeated belt. We got this, and we're going to win. But let me know what y'all think, fans. to the comments, as they would say. So if you guys want to leave us a comment, don't forget you can go to our website. The link is in the podcast description below, and you can send us a message there anonymously. We don't ask for your name. If you want to provide your name, that's completely up to you. But send us a message on what you think about this matchup this weekend. And also, if you guys want to call us and leave a message on the podcast for the message to be played across the podcasting airs, reach out to us, 706-389-0770. Well, that's it for this segment, folks. We'll be back right after this.
Between the Hedges is sponsored by
Dog Swap. If you love custom frames, then you are going to love their designs. Dog Swap has all sorts of custom frames, from Sports Illustrated to photos and more. Go to our website and under Sponsors section, click Dog Swap and get your one-of-a-kind custom sports frame today.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Between the Hedges podcast. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends and your families. Also, if you haven't had a chance to follow our podcast yet, then go ahead and just clickety-clack that little button there. Takes 2 seconds, I promise you. And it will be the best thing you ever had, ever. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is the best thing ever. I mean, you're talking about birth and weddings and kids and, other events that might happen in your life that might be the best thing. But it's close. It's a close third or fourth. So, also don't forget to turn those notifications on so you guys are kept up to date when those episodes drop. And if you want to reach out to us, remember you can do so by going to our website. The link is in the podcast description below. Also, we have our email address in there as well, too, bthfpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to give us a call, you can call us at 706-389-0770 and leave a message. Remember, we do ask if you don't mind keeping those messages professional if you want them to be aired on the podcast. If you don't want them to be aired, then you are welcome to say whatever you like, and we will listen and we will appreciate the message. So, well, it's towards the end of the podcast. I hope you guys have a great day today. Happy Friday Eve. And hopefully we'll be back here again tomorrow. But no, we're kidding. We'll be here tomorrow. What are we talking about? We got Bulldogs to talk about. We'll be here tomorrow. So we'll see you guys back here tomorrow on Between the Hedges podcast. From everyone here at Between the Hedges, go Dogs!